Hi everyone, it's Nick with Build Up Advisory Group, and it's Fast Forward Fridays, a web series where we will quickly build what you know about infrastructure design in the nonprofit sector. Today's Fast Forward topic is how to build an effective grant making process. It's part 2 to last week's Fast Forward Friday episode number 43. In that episode, we talked about the first of 3 building blocks to build an effective grant making process. Specifically, we said that the first building block you need is to understand your organization's values. We explained that without understanding and articulating your values, an organization will never build a grant making process that's effective and allows the organization's goals and strategy to show up in the way it's awarding funding to organizations and individuals. And we also pointed out that once you understand that delta between what you say and what you do, you can then align those 2 pieces, define your values, and then move to the second building block. So what is that second building block? The second building block, and this is based on designing and structuring grant-making processes for many years in different regions of the world, is understanding and defining risk. Yes, risk. Let's break this down a bit so you know what I mean. People talk about risk a lot, and I'm definitely one of those people. And what I've pushed a lot of my clients on, and the conversation I want us to have in this sector, is the conversation about how we define risk within the sector, within fields, within communities of practice, and within our own organizations. Until we start to have these difficult conversations about what risk is, who we consider to be risky and not risky, teasing out why we think these things, and confronting our biases that inform the way we think about and hold risk, we'll never be able to award funding in a way that's aligned with our values and supports vulnerable and marginalized communities. The idea of risk, in many cases, is a stand-in for implicit bias. And not being able to have that conversation around how we can tease apart real risk from risk that we think may occur because we're working with groups or practices that are unfamiliar to us or make us personally uncomfortable, will not serve us in creating better grant making for the communities we're serving. Communities of color are often the ones that bear the consequences of ill-defined or undefined risk that's decided on a person-to-person basis. You can check the grant making data, and for many funders, probably your grant making portfolio. When I see the disproportionality that exists within a funder's grantee portfolio, I can tell that a significant part of the issue is having a troubling definition of risk, or whatever definition you're using is superseding your values if you actually want proportionality. So it's critical that we get this right. And until you're able to struggle with defining this risk or have a conversation about how you define risk and getting clear on how that definition of risk then aligns with your values, you can't build an effective grant-making process. Of course, this isn't a one-time conversation or transaction. It's an approach and commitment that's embedded in your organization, and it's a muscle you have to commit to building. How we engage in grant making is so telling. An effective grant making process is designed first by an organization's values and then structured by how the organization defines risk. And the process is effective when the organization pays attention to how it defines risk and struggles well with getting that definition right. That tension creates a process that awards flexible funding to communities that have been thrown to the margins and creates space for those communities to lead in their own problem solving. Imagine that. And that's our Fast Build. On our next Fast Forward Friday, we'll close out the conversation about building effective grant-making processes with the third and final building block. I want to hear how you are thinking about risk and building an effective grant-making process. I would love to hear from you and about your experience in the comments below. And if you're finding these Fast Forward Fridays helpful or informative, I would love it if you would like this video and hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful weekend and keep building bravely.